Yo, what's good guys? Inswain with Inswain Audio. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe and stick around because I drop tutorials every single day. Today, I'm going to be doing the ultimate LA-2A compressor shootout. We're going to be comparing 3 different LA-2As, some really famous ones, and a lesser known one that might be a sleeper, but I don't know. Let's check it out. Let's go. All right, so I got a song pulled up. I'll let you hear it in a second, but we got vocals, drums, bass guitar, and electric guitars. We're going to be testing 3 different LA-2As on each 4 of these things. We're going to hear them in solo. We're going to hear them in context of the mix, side by side, and we can go together and see the qualities of them, the pros and the cons, which ones we like the best, and then at the end, we'll see what the results are. So we're going to be checking the Waves CLA-2A, an absolute classic. The UAD LA-2A silver compressor. There's 3 different ones, I believe. The silver is the one that I use the most, so I chose it. I think it's the most true to the other plugins, so I chose it. And then a lesser known one that I really, really like, and this is the Overloud Gem Comp LA. So we're going to test them all on vocals, drums, bass, and electric guitars and see what we like. But first, I'll let you hear just a little section of the song with no processing at all, no compressors, nothing, to see what we're working with. So here it is. All right, there it is. I've actually mixed this song before. This is raw right now, but if you want to see me mix this from start to finish, you can check that out on my channel. It's called How to Mix a Rock Song, or Mixing a Rock Song from Start to Finish. I'll link it down in the description if you want to check that out. I've also mastered it. That will be in the description as well if you want to see it, but enough is enough. Let's get into it. So first, what I did here is I set up each compressor so that it was getting about 3 decibels of gain reduction and then level match so that it wasn't any louder or quieter post-processing or after the compression. It's going to stay at the same level, but I'm trying to get 3 decibels of gain reduction with each compressor on each source. The reason I chose 3, it's kind of arbitrary, but it's also kind of not. 3 is like a, middle of the ground, and then a lot of times these compressors are used kind of moderately, not too heavily, just kind of subtly to get some glue. So I figured, why not use them the way they're quote unquote intended, right? I could have done more, I could have done less. I could have done this a million different ways. I had to make a decision. So that's what I did. So let's start with the vocals. What we'll do is we'll listen to them in context of the mix, and then we'll listen to them in isolation, and we'll see what we like. So we're going to start with the Waves CLA-2A, and I'll play it back and forth, on and off, starting with it off. All right, now let's listen to it in solo, and I'll do the same thing before and after, starting with the before. Evil of nature, blessed by man, darkness laughing, taking what it can. Okay, sounds really good. No surprise there. It gives it like a thick, creamy, almost filmy, which can be good or bad depending on the context. But I'm really familiar with this compressor, so that's just how I know and how I interpret it. A lot of the times it's good. Actually, I should say at this point, I reach for it when I know I want that sound, so it kind of always works. But until you really get used to how it sounds, sometimes it's going to be amazing and sometimes it's going to ruin your mix. And I don't really see that inherently as a bad thing. It's kind of like, this is what it does. It knows what it's here for, and it's always going to do that. It's true to itself. Not to get all, personified here, but it's got some character. And if that's what you're looking for, it's an 11 out of 10. But if it's not, it can really be off-putting. So you just got to get used to it. Now, let's try the UAD LA-2A silver compressor. We'll do it in context of the mix and then solo, just like before, starting with the before. All right, now we'll listen to it in solo, starting with the before. Evil of nature, blessed by man, darkness laughing, taking what it can. Okay, to me, this one feels like it's doing a lot of leveling, which, is what it's meant to do, but it feels like it's really leveling the vocal out. I feel like it doesn't have as much character on this vocal, but it's doing more traditional compression. So far the CLA one feels like it's more character. This one feels like it's more traditional compression, which neither is, good or bad. That's just kind of how I feel like what they're doing. But yeah, let's move on to the Gem Comp, the overall Gem Comp LA, and we'll do before and after in the context of the mix, starting with the before. All right, and now we'll listen to it in solo, starting with the before. Evil of nature, blessed by man, darkness laughing, taking what it can. Okay, so this one to me kind of feels like a mixture of the other two. It feels like it's doing great leveling. It's especially getting the lower parts, I feel like. I don't think there's any like proof for that. That's just how I interpret it. It feels like it's getting those parts that are getting buried and just bringing them right in to the mix, right in your face. And it's also giving character. I think I like this one the best on this vocal in this instance right here, with no other processing. And that's the thing, is there's so many other variables that you'll never like one more than the other always. This is just a good, breakdown for you guys. But I think I like this one the most. It's putting the vocal right in your face. And this song has that aggressive vocal, and this thing just grabs it and puts it right in your face. So I definitely like this one the most. Now what I'll do is I'll play it in context of the mixed, and I will flip through them all one by one. So we'll start with it off, then we'll go into the LA-2A, then the UAD, and then the overloud. All right, let's do it. Yeah, definitely like this one right here, the Gem Comp LA from Overloud the most. This is the winner for the vocals, in my opinion, in this case, in this context. But if you put another compressor before it or after it, it might change, or if you EQ it, right? There's a million variables, so I'm not gonna say one plugin's better than the other, but in this specific instance right here, the Overloud Gem Comp LA takes the win for the vocals. Let's move on to the drums, do the same thing. We'll start with the LA-2A, and we'll start with it off and then turn it on in context of the mix. Okay, it's a little grabby for me, but I kind of like it. I normally don't use an LA-2A on drums anyways, but for the sake of the video, but I like it. Let's listen to it in solo, starting with the before. Yeah, it's clamping down too hard, especially when the snare hits. But like I said, I wanted to get 3 decibels of gain reduction. Not my style with this particular compressor, but it does sound good. It gives a nice character. It's a little bit, squished for me, but I think the tone that it gives sounds great. So I think the compressor sounds great. It's just set incorrectly for this specific example, in my opinion. But, as the sake of the tutorial. Now let's move on to the UAD version, starting with the before. Yeah, so the speed of the compressor, like the attack and release, the way that, it's shaping the wave, it's making the hi-hats and the open hi-hat just thrashy in your face, and then the snare is getting ducked too much, which I don't like, but it is adding an insane amount of attitude that I do like. Let's listen to it in solo, starting with the before. Wow, that's crazy. Notice how they sound plastic and artificial, and then you put this on and they just sound like a real drummer just rocking out. I actually love how this is sounding. I wouldn't do this much compression probably, or maybe do it in parallel, but for what it's doing right here, I love the attitude it's giving. It's going to be hard to beat that. Now let's go to the overall Gem Comp LA in context of the mix, starting with the before. Interesting. Okay, let's do solo, starting with the before. Interesting. So this is really just hugging the kick and the snare when that hits. It's just grooving with it musically perfectly. I really like how that's working. I think this one actually sounds the best. So the UAD one added the most character and it brought out the room tone and that thrashiness, but it was throwing off the balance of the mix, which you could fix. But for the sake of our experiment here, I'm leaving everything as is. But all things considering as is, this one probably is working the best overall. But once again, the UAD one is adding way more character. This one's just sounding better groove-wise with the kick and the snare, but the UAD, the rooms and the thrashiness and the sustain sounds amazing. So this was kind of weird. I think in this specific instance, once again, the Gem Comp LA is going to win out. But I think if we did some rebalancing and some processing around it, I think the UAD would sound the best after we, dressed everything up. So, a little caveat. Anyways, let's move on to the bass. Starting with the Waves LA-2A in context, starting with the before. So it definitely makes it woofy, but it adds a lot of groove. Like as soon as I turned it on, I started bobbing my head. That's kind of a sign that really like it. Let's listen to it soloed with it starting before. Yeah, so it definitely adds a wideness and a body to it and a roundness. You might want to EQ with it because, it's getting a little woofy, but this isn't EQ'd at all. So, makes sense. It's bringing things out, but I really like it. It sounds really good. Gives it groove, warmth, definitely makes it huge. Pretty insane. Let's move on to the UAD version, starting with the before. Okay, let's listen to it in solo. Okay, so I really like what it's doing compression-wise, but there's a nasty frequency in the bass that I wasn't even like tuned into until I put this on, and then it brings it out. And the plugin's not adding that; it's just enhancing what's already there. So it sounds nasty with that frequency, but in a real mix you would be able to EQ that out, and then this would sound really good. I think it might even sound better than the Waves one in this case because it's not so woofy. It's just like the right amount of warmth. But yeah, it sounds good, but it's bringing out a nastiness in the bass, which isn't fair to the compressor. It's not the compressor's fault. But anyways, let's move on to the Gem Comp. I can't say this. The overloud Gem Comp LA. Starting with the before. Okay, so this one's definitely the most transparent so far. I feel like it's doing the least amount of alteration to the signal. Let's listen to it in solo, starting with the before. Pretty insane how transparent that is. Like, I feel like it's just compressing. It's not really introducing a difference in frequency response at all, which could be good, could be bad. I think in this specific case, though, because it already needs to be EQ'd, that once again, this one's going to win out because it's just handling it so, gracefully, and just providing compression. But once again, it all depends. I think if it was EQ'd well, the UAD one or the Waves one would sound better. But in this specific example, the Gem Comp is going to win again. But like I said, with some EQ, I think the other two would actually be better. Once again, a caveat. It's almost like everything in mixing is not black and white. Funny. Okay. Let's move on to the electric guitars. There is 4 of them. They're all playing the same thing. I just grouped them together to make it easy. Let's start with the Waves plugin, starting with it off. Okay, kind of making them feel like small or like pushed back in the mix a little bit, but it's also hugging them nicely. So let's listen to it in solo. I see. So when the guitarist is that chugging, it's getting over compressed for my taste, and that's sucking away the energy. Not really necessarily a problem with a compressor. It might just be compressing too much, but I wanted to do this much for the example. So I think the compressor sounds good. It's rather transparent, relatively transparent, but it's just being squeezed a little too hard. Not the compressor's fault though. Now let's move on to the UAD one, starting with the before. Okay, once again, I feel like it's doing the same issue, but it's adding some attitude as well. Let's listen to it in solo, starting with the before. Yeah, definitely liking this one a lot so far. It is just adding the screeching attitude that some might see as, you know, oh no, but I think it's just adding so much character. I love that so far. All right, let's go to the Overloud Gem Comp LA, starting with the before. Okay, let's listen in solo. Okay, so this one, I feel like it's doing the same thing as the UAD, but like opposite tilt in my mind. What I mean is the other one was giving it a screechy brightness. This one's giving it some weight and some low end. So I feel like the UAD is adding top end, this is adding low end. For this specific case, I think I like the UAD here a little more, but I kind of feel like they're neck and neck. It just depends. You want to add weight to your guitars? Go for this one. You want to add some top end to your guitars and some scratch? Go for this one. But in this specific case, I like the screech it's adding, so I'm going to go with the UAD. So, you know, there you have it. For the vocals, drums, and bass, I like the Gem Comp LA from Overloud the most, and on the electric guitars, I liked the UAD the most. And I don't have any bias. I don't have any sponsorships. I don't have any, you know, horse in this race. Is that what it is? I was just doing this for fun. I honestly was just surprised by my results, but mainly I just wanted to show you guys, if you have any of these plugins or you're considering buying them, every time I go to get a plugin, I want to hear it on different things so I know like kind of what it's going to sound like before I buy it. So if you're thinking about getting one of these or you just wanted to hear how they sound, you know, this could be really valuable for you so you can know if you want to pick it up or not. So there you have it, guys. I think the king of the LA-2As is actually the Overloud Gem Comp LA. This thing is insane. In this case, in this song, if I pulled up another song, it could be the Waves. I love them all. They're all great plugins. Don't get me wrong. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. I drop videos every day. Inswain with Inswain Audio. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.